Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the 19th hole. We are live on In Between Media. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the whole damn channel, and give that bell a jingle for notifications. This is the Florida Swing. We are done with the West Coast. Ended up in Mexico last week. We'll cover the Mexico Open recap. But the Florida Swing is exciting because we get to start a PGA National for what used to be called the artist formerly known as the Honda Classic. It's now called the Cognizant Classic. I'm cognizant about playing horses for this golf course, Jack Nicklaus design. We got ourselves a great show on tap. Conor, Coughlin, and I are both healthy, both raring to go. We're betting on golf. We're going to win money on golf. I've even got a little bit of cold brew. We are ready to rock. Are you ready to rock? Here we go. Ooh, baby, we got ourselves a show tonight. Conor, Coughlin, Bo McBrayer. The handles are down here. Tim Burke in the house. He's just here for the hat. We all know that. It's okay. I like the hat myself. I missed it last week. I had some kind of virus that kicked my ass. So if you missed me, sorry. I'm back this week to annoy you all over again. Mexico Open was a doozy. We're going to cover that in a little bit here. News Niblick is next, but Conor, how are you doing tonight? Did you miss me?
I did miss you. I
know you got to hang out with Mike.
I did. I found out Mike is a fan of yours. Mike quoted you several times.
Crap.
So there was no shortage of Bo McBrayer on the show
I'm
last
glad I didn't watch too much of the show because I was incapacitated, because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be able to fit through the doorway with the ego boost that he was going to give me.
Yeah, the people love you. I don't know.
My hat size is already big enough.
Yeah, we can't find anything. You're barely fitting in the screen as it is. So yeah,
I know this is a Mammoth Headwear hat. Shout out NorCal. Mammoth Headwear, made for guys with 7 3/4 hat size and larger.
It took you literally less than 25 seconds on air.
I missed a whole week of work, so
we got to get them in. Speaking of shout out NorCal, I noticed your T-shirt you have on there.
Oh, yes. So Saturday was a great day. And let's actually save this story for the News Niblick, because what are you drinking? Anything good?
No, I'm staying on the water. We are sans alcohol again this week. I'm better, but I'm not perfect yet. So we're just gonna
I'm in the same boat. As a very hardcore caffeine addict, I have 2 half-gallon pitchers of cold brew at all times, alternating between brewing and pouring. And so, can you tell them a little caffeinated? I just got off work. I've had a whole long day, and here we go.
Yeah, just what you need is an energy boost. This will be.
I actually did. I was dragging ass by the end of the afternoon here. Costco hot dog will do that to you. You need caffeine after one of those bad boys.
You were victimized by the food court. Is that what you're saying?
$1.50. I don't know if you call me a victim or a survivor. Either way, it tasted good. I'll pay for it tomorrow.
Balling on a budget.
Hell yeah. All right, let's hit the drop for News Niblick. We got a lot to talk about. This is a big show. Florida Swing brings it out into us. We're back on Bermuda greens, baby. And Conor, before we get started here, you didn't shout out Chelsea Pulford. Chelsea, friend of the show.
Well, I was hoping
South Dakota native, if I'm not right.
So I was hoping that we were going to segue on some shirt talk, because Chelsea actually got me this shirt that I'm wearing that I'm told describes accurately how babies are made. It says something about not pulling. I don't know. Not pulling out. I'm not sure what that means, but apparently that's how babies are made. I Googled it.
Yeah, I mean, it's from my experience, there's a lot more words on that shirt than what's required to make a baby. So maybe there's a lot of repetition there.
Yeah, it might be printed several times. But no,
all right. Thank you,
I was gonna
Chelsea,
give her a
for
little
tuning
shout-out.
in. Yeah, shout out Chelsea. She's on board with the funny shirt. Yeah, Conor, proven fact, didn't pull out about a year ago.
That's still alleged.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you could just be like, what's his name, Matt Fitzpatrick, and never pull the flag stick, and sometimes the ball caroms off and you miss the putt.
God, speaking of him, like, it's not in our news this week, but they did a little segue with him yesterday at the TGL, and they're like, did you guys come out with your friends, drink some beers, and eat some pizza? And he's like, no alcohol for me, square over here. I'm just like, dude,
shocker.
You had a party up in SoFi Stadium with your friends, and you did not indulge at all. Boy, real fun guy.
Mrs. Coughlin is responsible for the cutest baby ever. Conor, it was in spite of Conor's contribution.
I will say we have arguably the cutest child that has ever been on the face of the earth. So
thank you, Ray. You're great. Thank you for making a cute baby, because it was a little dicey there, Conor having a kid. We were like, oh,
yeah.
Good job, Ray. You did great.
I won the lottery.
Yes, you did.
That's why I don't win bets anymore. I wasted all my luck on my wife.
Yeah, good idea. That's a good way to be, though.
Yeah, I think long term better play. That's
hashtag blessed, right?
Yep. Living life right.
All right, let's get to the news. Who the fuck is Brian Campbell?
So I happen to know who Brian Campbell is a little bit.
I know you do, but nobody else did. 250 to 1 was even shorter than I thought he was going to be, because guy is the shortest hitter on the PGA Tour. Not a single top 10, even on the Corn Ferry Tour. He kept his Corn Ferry card on the number. Kept his Corn Ferry Tour card. And of course, you get a little bit of you get a couple exemptions to some PGA Tour events, this being one of them. And this guy has my ball speed, 160 miles an hour, so average of 272 yards a drive on a golf course that is literally designed for bombers, as we saw with Aldrich Potgieter. Apparently, golf is more than tee shots. We found out this last week. The books found out. They rolled in the money. All the bets that went to all the bombers all went to the casinos, because Brian Campbell from South Carolina, is South Carolina short hitter, the luckiest man alive.
Dude, so yeah, he's South Carolina. Literally his parents are friends of my parents. They live in the same gated community, plays on the same course. My dad's met the guy quite a few times.
Even you didn't bet on him.
So, and what's wild is, like, I had to go back, because, like, the funny thing about Brian Campbell is you and I have actually talked about Brian Campbell organically long before I knew that my dad knew the guy.
It didn't click, though.
It didn't click. And we actually bet him at the US Open last year, where he was 1,000 to 1.
LACC.
Yeah. Yep. And so we had him last year. We talked about him quite a bit on the show. And what's interesting is, had he been anywhere on our radar, I went back and read our write-up about the guy. I mean, everything that we loved about him at the Open, he would have translated perfectly here. We talked a lot about his fairway hit percentage. We talked about his green and regulation percentage, and how he really has an elite approach game, elite wedge game.
His game was so good.
We talked about how great he is at scrambling for par or better. Like, if he has to scramble, he makes par or better 67% of the time, which is an unreal number. So it's just wild. It just goes to show you that, like, store some of these guys in the old memory bank, because Brian Campbell actually made a ton of sense for this course.
We weren't wrong. We were just early.
Very early.
A year and a half early.
But I think it's a cool story. Kind of a definition journeyman grinder guy on the tour, and got a couple of breaks down the stretch there. That tee shot in the playoff, I was like, oh God, he is toast, and just gets like maybe the world's best, luckiest bounce off that tree over the out of bounds fence.
And that forced layup to the wedge shot was the perfect. It was almost poetic because he was, even if he hit a drive in the fairway, he was going to hit a 3-wood to about that same spot. But being that it hit off the tree, he only his tee shot was only like 200 yards, and he had to hit that 3-wood off a bare lie and into that layup area where, of course, this guy's wedge game
stupid good,
and Aldrich Potgieter's wedge game not good at all.
Not great.
Not like great off the tee. Obviously, the longest hitter on tour. Just absolutely destroys the golf ball. Great putter, actually. Potgieter's got a great flat stick, but short game putting, chipping, and wedge game, Potgieter was exposed, and the pressure didn't help. His 61 earlier in the week, he was rolling, but that was in spite of terrible off the tee play. Like, he was spraying the ball everywhere and just sticking approach shots, and that dried up quickly. And when the pressure got put on him, he folded like a lawn chair, which I guess is pretty much to be expected for a 20-year-old rookie on tour. But Campbell grinded it out, made it happen. Props to him. That was a great story. Like, watching his girlfriend go through all those emotions and agonizing, and this guy's just flatline. Like, I'm cool. We're cool. Everything's cool.
Everything's good.
She's losing her fucking mind. And it's like, that's what you need. That's a ride or die. Brian Campbell, hold on to that one. That's a ride or die. You don't lose those.
Dude, I loved her too. Like, she's dapping up Potgieter's dad and stuff. Like, just
they were friends. They met each other on the Corn Ferry Tour last year.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you would think that a lot of these like kind of friends and family of these players, especially on the Corn Ferry, like, they really get to know each other. Like, because you talk about lesser known names on the tour having to grind and having to find ways to finance the play and everything. I mean, compound that tenfold on the Corn Ferry.
The travel, the organizing, everything. They do a lot of pooling together of resources to make it happen on those lower tours, because they don't make very much money.
No.
Like, getting to the PGA Tour, you have to not only make the tour, but you have to make cuts on tour to make real money. And until you get to that echelon, which is the tippity top of the best golfers in the world, you don't make shit for money as a professional golfer.
I don't know. Don't ask Kevin Kisner. They pay a shitload of money for 22nd place.
Yeah. On the PGA Tour, they do.
Yeah. But no, it was cool. And actually, I mean, Potgieter is a guy that both of us have been on off and on for, God, it feels like 2+ years now. So, it was cool. I think Potgieter is going to make a ton of noise he
learned a lot from that failure.
Boy, and he crushes a golf ball.
What a talented golfer. Whew.
Effort. I mean, and it, like, I don't want to say it's effortless, but it's just such a powerful
athletic
swing.
It's athletic.
Like, yeah.
Like, you could tell he was a rugby player. That he is, for how big he is. That guy's hips swing so quick, and that's effortless power is what you get from your hips and your core. And like, his athletic foundation as a 20-year-old and his maturity as a 20-year-old, outstanding. That kid's going places.
Well, I'm watching some of the flexibility, especially on the drive coming through when he was compacting back into his, getting his arms back into.
You can't recreate that. That's like Scotty Scheffler's footwork. It's like, you don't even try to do that because you will hurt yourself.
Yeah, it was wild. So anyways, looking forward to seeing a lot more of him. You hate to say put it on Brian Campbell, but I don't know that we will see him in the same capacity we're going to see Potgieter over the years. But no, it's cool.
Every dog has a day. And that was a dog performance.
And he's now on the radar. Anytime we got a course that makes sense, we'll be reminded now.
All right. In the other news, today was the release on Netflix of Full Swing Season 3. Great show on Netflix, except for the Dan Rappaport parts. I actually have my finger over the mute button. Every time he comes on camera, I hit mute because I actually do not want to hear what he has to say. The rest of the show is outstanding. I just want more Dylan DTA and less Dan Rappaport, please, and thank you, Netflix. That'd be great. Every bit of content that we get.
How far have you gotten through the season so far? I haven't even started it yet. I was waiting.
I've been at work all day. I haven't started it. I'll start it after work, after the show here, but I haven't seen any of it. Of course, the teaser was the unreleased footage from Scotty Scheffler's arrest last year. That's pretty cool. It's interesting for a lot of people. I don't give a shit. I want to see the behind the scenes of the actual gameplay. That's the full appeal of the show, is what these guys go through to get ready each week, what they go through mentally, physically, everything that goes into being a PGA Tour professional. That's interesting as hell. The Scotty Scheffler stuff, it hooks people in. It gets people watching the show just to find that one piece. But for me, it's just avoiding the Dan Rappaport scenes.
The part that I'm most interested to see, and I guess it's in some of the later episodes, sort of a spoiler alert. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know how in depth they go, but supposedly there's a fair amount of Gary Woodland's come back from the brain surgery.
That's cool. I'm definitely tuning in for that, because we already love Gary Woodland enough. I think we're gonna love him even more once we watch. Yeah, shocker. He's pretty up there for me too. All right, and finishing up with the news, Niblick. Oh, sorry. Did you have more to say about?
No. I was just going to say I'm really excited to see that. I think anything that humanizes these guys, and
it's long overdue. I don't know how it took so long to make a show about these guys that go through so much for a damn job.
100% agree with you. So yeah, that's if anybody needs me, that's what I'll be doing straight through from tonight until sometime tomorrow when I get through the whole show.
Yeah. Finally in the news, Niblick, real golf was played on Saturday.
I heard from you. Now I want some witnesses, but I heard from you it was decent golf that was played.
It was insanely good golf. I can't believe it myself, because I haven't touched a club since Labor Day, and I go out there with my coworker and we're just playing 9 holes at the local muni, and I'm just so stoked. I got to the course 2 hours early. I did a full warm up. I went through a large bucket of balls. They had a deal going where if you bought a draft beer for $6, they throw in a large bucket for an extra $1. So I got a beer and a bucket for $7, and the daily rate for playing Twilight was $17 more. I got to go out there and play golf pretty much all day, and I played 9 holes. First 3 holes, bogey, 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 which not terrible, but I was also like, okay, got to shake the rust off. The swing was fine. I was hitting the shit out of the ball in the range. I was putting on a show, which usually means that when you get to the first tee, you're going to top it or slice it out of bounds or whatever. It's usually the range hero turns into the worst round of your life. I went out there, was striping the ball all day. And the most surprising thing was my short game was absolutely dialed in. Like I had so many tap in pars just from chipping it within inches of the hole. Like every time I chipped it, it almost went in the hole. And on the 4th hole, my first par, I was short-sighted and had to chip it over past the hole back on the fringe on the other side of the green. I was like, shit, I got like 20 feet on the fringe for a par and put it right in the hole. First par. I was like, all right, we're good. And then the next hole, I made another tap in par where I just missed the green by a little bit, chipped it to a couple inches, tap in par. I was like, what's going on? I only lost 1 ball. I dunked it on the par 3 over water, and there's a drop area, 55-yard wedge shot over the same water hazard, 1 hop in the cup for a par. What the hell's going on? It's like, usually when you don't play for a very long time, what's the worst part of your game?
Usually my short game.
Yeah. Same for me. I was confused more than anything. I was happy that the ball was going where I wanted it to go, but I was so confused because this has never happened before.
Well, and I can vouch for you because you sent me a message from the range before you teed off.
I was like, this is not going to go well.
Yeah, literally. I've got receipts on this. Like that's literally what you said. And I think you said, striping on the range, you know what that means. And I'm like, shit on the course.
I was ready for it. And when I bogeyed the first 3 holes, I was like, yeah, it's not going so great. But I was hitting the ball well off the tee. My approach game was decent, but I could not believe how well I was chipping the ball. Like I barely had to putt at all because it was just like dip, dip.
I am jealous. We actually, it's not real golf it's sort of real golf, but we had a new 24-hour member only simulator place open in town. So I have played about 15 rounds in the sim over the last 2 weeks. Like I've been going almost every day. So swing is coming into form. I would die to get on the course right now. Like I need some real golf in my life. So I was jealous.
You're in permafrost tundra country right now. So
well, dude, it went up to like 50, 60 the last couple of days. So this whole place looks like a swamp. Basically, everything's all mudded out and shitty. Which, of course, the brilliant people that run the public courses here are letting people out with like walking push carts and all that shit. And I'm like,
tearing it up,
cool, good,
tearing up the golf course.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's been in the mid 60s, low 70s all week here. It's just gorgeous weather. So I finished at the golf course. I come home and watch my guy, Fluffy Hernandez, win his 7th fight in a row. He is now the number 9 ranked middleweight in the UFC, which is crazy because that's one of the deepest weight classes in all of MMA. So I got to see my guy win. Yeah, just try to get the ball in the first shot. So much easier with it. Yeah. Happy learned how to putt. Uh-oh.
I should just do that every time.
Yeah. Yeah. You just got one of the par 4. Is that good?
How do you finish again? Dead last? Yeah, you had a good day though. I will say I watched Fluffy's fight. I mean, I think immediately out of the chute, I was a little bit worried for him. It looked like
his first round. Yeah, Allen is a class fighter. He was number 9 in advance. Like it was number 9 versus number 12, and they're very similar styles. They're both great grapplers, great jiu-jitsu, and Allen's a better striker. But it was a rematch of a fight from years ago, and Fluffy lost the first round. He got tagged up pretty good at the end of the first round. Caught an elbow, cut himself open, but he also stuck his tongue out and taunted him after he got cut open at the end of the round. It was funny because it was like, that's Fluffy for you. He gets hit and cuts his eyebrow open and it still smiles and sticks his tongue out at the guy just to mess with his head. And the rest of the fight was his. So he basically dominated the rest of the fight and won easily, unanimous decision. And now he's probably 2 or 3 fights away from a title shot.
And he's a cool guy. I mean, I don't know him. Obviously you do. I don't know him, but watching interviews with him, he's just like, yeah, I don't care. Give me whoever. I'm down. Yeah. Just put me in the ring. Let's go.
He lets his coaches watch film for him because he actually doesn't even watch fighting. He doesn't know who these guys are. He doesn't know what their tendencies are. He's like, you got to show up and hurt them until they give up or they stop me.
It's got to be a hell of an advantage, actually. But
oh no, he's an insane person. All professional fighters are completely bonkers. Like they're the craziest people you'll ever meet in your life. But it's wildly entertaining because he's one of the best in the world, and that's my guy. It's like that's the guy I party in Vegas with. That's the guy I'll go and just hang out with. That's the guy I've invited over to my house for tacos.
Hey man, every time he's fighting, I'm watching. He's a class act. And he's a good fighter. I enjoy the hell out of it. So you tell him that I said I think he's pretty awesome.
That's my guy. That's my guy, Fluff.
Should we get into some actual golf betting? I think nobody wants to hear us talk about any of this anymore.
All right, let's move on. We're going to do the caddy notes. Conor gets to wax poetic about a Jack Nicklaus design in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. All right, Conor, what do we got here?
So, ye old Cognizant Classic at the PGA National Resort Champions Course in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. We got a par 71, 7,147 yards-ish. Bermuda, fairways, Bermuda greens. PGA National is a tough course. We got a couple of really treacherous 3-hole stretches. You got the notorious bear trap on the back, and then I believe it's hole 5, 6, 7 on the front that gives people fits as well. It's kind of like the mini
Jack Nicklaus signature. Yep.
And it's there is Bo's favorite word. Lots of carnage to be had here. When you look outside of just the 6 holes that are going to be problematic, the entire course itself is riddled with bunkers. You got over 60 bunkers that are actually firmly in play this time, not purely aesthetic. You've got 15 holes that feature either water and or out of bounds, very, very readily in play. It is a second shot course. We talk a lot about that, but this one's going to be a little bit different and a little more deliberate than some of the ones we've had over the past few weeks. there really, in my opinion, isn't a strong advantage to have distance. There's some very specific places you need to hit to on this course. And that being said, it really boils down to an overemphasis on accuracy. We need guys that know exactly how to navigate around this place, need to know when to take the long sticks out of their hands, play the right club to the right spot, and then be able to execute that approach shot. So this is a very strategic golf course, lots of trouble everywhere.
I love Jack Nicklaus courses. God, I love them.
Well, and especially this one for I think it's lost a lot of its luster, but when you look at it, it's got a heavy emphasis on right to left ball flight. We talked a lot about that last year. You don't see that as much nowadays, especially with a lot of the power fades that guys prefer to play. Yeah. So that's kind of a little bit of a wrinkle. And then the other thing too with this place, and it, knock on wood, it doesn't look like it's going to happen this week either. But over the last few years here, we haven't had a tremendous impact from the weather. But this place, if it does get breezy and the wind picks up, this is like a brutally difficult course for these guys to play. So,
2022 comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly. And in 2022, I think that was the Lowry year, right? Where that crazy storm
caught him. Yeah. They had a crazy thunderstorm. They delayed play for a little bit, but it was raining sideways for a while. And Lowry, who's traditionally a great grinder in tough conditions, faltered, and Sepp Straka got a really nice break with the weather coming in at the right time for him. He went on this crazy birdie streak and caught Lowry and won at the end. Lowry was well on his way to winning that tournament, and Straka just got a really lucky break with the weather, and it came in heartbreaking fashion because we were both on Lowry that week.
Very heavily invested on Lowry that week. Just to kind of round out the course information though. So I said there's an overemphasis on accuracy. It's a full bag course. You need accuracy through the entire bag. I know Bo and I are pretty well in lockstep on a lot of the stats we looked at, but just an overview of how we built out models, little differences in how we weighted them. And you'll see that as we get into the betting here, but shots gained approach, obviously very important. Predominantly what I looked at was about the 150 to 200 range. We don't have a whole lot shorter than 150. We don't have a whole lot over 200, with the exception of a couple of the par threes, which I wouldn't deem approach shots, but we do have two par threes that are well over 200 yards that are going to need some iron play, hybrid, something like
bear trap. And they're all over water and nasty tiny greens with fast greens.
Yeah, there's just like nothing. There's no way to stay out of trouble here. It's really about mitigating risk. You're going to get in trouble. It's know how to navigate around. Yeah.
Saving strokes and gaining strokes on the easier holes. There's a couple of them where you can kind of go for a birdie. The par fives aren't overly difficult on this course, but there's only 3 of them now. There's one more than there was a few years ago.
And that one from a few years ago that used to be a long par 4 that they've changed to a par 5. That's one of the most prime scoring opportunities on the whole
It's
course.
The easiest hole on the golf course.
So, yeah, so that's really all I've got is really just accuracy on approach. I did look a little bit at not necessarily strokes gained putting as a stat, but I did look at guys that excel on Bermuda. You got guys that are the Florida swing rock stars. Like, I'm not
Cashmere Keith.
Not betting at most of them. Like, I'm not into Cashmere Keith this week, but he's a big Bermuda guy. Billy Horschel, big Bermuda guy, big Florida swing guy. There's a few other ones, but those are the 2 that stick out that I think people line up every year to play here. And I've already heard both of them getting chatted up a little bit. So, what I looked at on the putting spectrum was more along the lines of opportunities gained and guys that take advantage of Bermuda. So guys that don't lose strokes on Bermuda, but don't necessarily excel on it. I just wanted guys that have good opportunities gained and aren't going to miss their opportunities is kind of what I'm getting at.
I second that. All right. Let's bet on some golf. What do you say?
I love where your head's at.
Twirl some clubs. Here we go. Let's bet on some golf. DraftKings Sportsbook as of today. Top of the board, the longest odds we've had on a favorite this season, Shane Lowry. Horse for the course, if we ever saw one. Mr. PGA National. 3 consecutive top 5 finishes here. He's exactly what we're looking for. Accurate off the tee. One of the best approach players on planet Earth. Great scrambler, great grinder on tough golf courses. Puts the shit out of Bermuda better than any other surface in his bag. Any reason not to bet Shane Lowry at PGA National, Conor?
Not that I can really come up with.
Not at 20-1.
That's 20-1.
That's an insanely long number for a favorite, especially on a field that is not very stocked with top golfers. Lowry is one of only 2 guys in the top 25 in the world golf rankings here. Shane Lowry is a very easy favorite bet. Whether or not you put big money on him is another question. 20-1, you don't necessarily have to invest a ton of money in him because there's a lot of great options that we're going to dabble in this week because this golf course is so penal on certain holes that we're going to have lots of guys that are short odds that are going to miss the cut in a blaze of glory. And we're going to have a lot of guys really, really deep in the standings, all the way down to the very bottom, last one in. They're going to push for this win, like Sepp Straka did a few years ago. This golf course is the great equalizer, and it's not always fair. This is not the most fair of challenges where you're going to see some guys play great out of the ordinary, and we're going to get some guys that we think are going to be great that are going to absolutely blow up and trunk slam this week. I only like Shane Lowry in the top tier. Do you like anybody else here? I noticed Russell Henley's getting a lot of steam because he's the consummate Bermuda specialist. He's another great short iron or mid iron player, great putter. He seems to do well on these types of golf courses in general.
Yeah, I like Russell Henley here. I have kind of a smaller betting card. I have an even smaller DFS pool this week, and for me, I can whet my appetite with Shane Lowry at 20-1. Like I probably won't have a whole lot of investment up top here with the favorites. If I like anybody else up here, it might be Daniel Berger. Just looking at kind of the trends and looking at that 25 number. Burger. But even that, like I'm just not super excited to play these guys up here at the top. Like I think they're fine plays. I think they're probably really
why are we agreeing so much? It was because I was off last week.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be nice to you. No, but for real, like with these guys, I feel if I really get excited about one of them, maybe a top 10, maybe a top 20 bet, just so that I don't miss out completely. But as far as an outright up here, I think it's Shane Lowry or bust for me.
I have a feeling like the O'Doyles from Billy Madison that a lot of these guys are going down this week.
I think your whole family's going down.
Yeah. O'Doyle rules.
So yeah,
I'm pretty sparse up here too because I have a feeling that there's gonna be a few guys that come from deep to push for this win.
Honestly, especially in DFS, I have a ton of guys in that middle tier. And actually, I had to kind of pump the brakes on my betting card on that middle tier too, because there's just a lot of guys in there that I'm like,
they're all packed. They're all packed.
I can see it. So yeah, not to belabor it, we probably can move on from the favorites because I think it's Lowry or bust for me.
Yeah. Mid-priced. I have a big hankering for some Ben On. Great fit for this golf course. He tends to dominate ball striking on these shorter courses. He's a longer hitter, but he's also really accurate off the tee. One of the best approach players in this field. His putter is streaky, which it's kind of like Lowry. He's a lot like Lowry in a way where he's not necessarily the grinder that Lowry is. I think if the conditions stay pretty calm, then we'll see Ben On really push for this because he's a birdie making machine even in some tougher golf courses. 40-1 for him is great. I love to see that number because he's a really quality player that we've been on at certain points across the seasons. But I'm infatuated with the course fit and the number on one Jordan Spieth, who is on the comeback trail. What he's shown this season as kind of bouncing back from his couple years of absolutely shit approach play. His short game has been a saving grace for him his whole career. He's obviously always going to be wild off the tee, but this course has a lot of forced layups. He's not going to be hitting a lot of drivers off the tee. He's not bad when he takes the driver out of his hands. And if you get this guy in playing second shot golf with his ability to not make bogeys and doubles, I think Jordan Spieth's can make some noise here. And 40-1 for him is an insane number for how talented he is in this field. 40-1 of Spieth. I'm going to go every way, sideways, diagonal to bet Jordan Spieth this week.
I'll say this: I love your reasoning. I think you make a compelling argument on Spieth. I'm not going to get over my skis on Spieth this week.
Oh no, that would be crazy because he's still a wild card.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think one for me the slightly concerning piece of Spieth, and granted, I mean, it's one tournament, but the approach game at the Genesis was a little shaky.
Yeah, that 175 to 200 range, not great. Not great. That's about a third of the approach shots on this golf course. So I'm a little leery about that, but he is number 1 tee to green, number 7 opportunities, number 7 around the green, number 9 on the bucket, just short of that. From 150 to 175, he's number 9 in this field. So if he just balances out with the longer approach shots, I think he'll be fine. But yeah, you're right on the mark there because his approach game on those longer shots, it was shaky at best.
Yeah, I like. Hey, I'm with you. I'm probably gonna have some sprinkles on Spieth, both in the betting market and on DFS. I think there's a lot to like about him here. So yeah, I don't hate that take. For me, in this range, I'm a sucker for Luke Clanton. I think
I had a really hard time not betting him, but he's definitely in my DFS pool.
Yeah, I think there's a few things with him like to just kind of tip the scales in his favor here. Overall approach, he's pretty good. He's not, I wouldn't say that he's necessarily on the elite level, especially from that like 150 to 200 range. He's right in the middle of this pack. But one thing I do really enjoy about him is he hits greens at a tick like nobody else. He's number 4 in this field, which is really impressive considering he's really only got, about 48 measurable rounds that we can look at in this field. So when you look at that, the consistency in hitting greens and the number 1 in opportunities gained in this field. So not only is he hitting a lot of greens, he's knocking it really close. And to your point, kind of similar as Ben on, Clanton can just get super hot and make it look effortless. So
his baseline putting is quite poor, but yeah, when he gets hot, and I think he is primed to be hot on a Florida golf course. He is a Florida kid.
So, and exactly where I was going too. Like, I just think, there's a lot of things that set up really nice here for him. I've said at the beginning of the season, if Luke Clanton's teeing it up, I'm betting him because I think that this is a huge future star on the PGA Tour. Watched him cold chilling at TGL last night with all the big guys. Like, this is a guy that's making himself at home. I don't think he plans on going anywhere anytime soon. And we've already commented.
21 years old.
And we've commented on this before, like he seems really unaffected by the pressure, which is dangerous. It's a lot like Oberg when you look at the demeanor and just doesn't really get frazzled too easy. So I like that. And then I dropped down. You and I were talking about it. Gary Woodland at 55-1.
Gary. We love Gary here.
I made the bold pronouncement that Gary was about to make a comeback, and I think I jinxed him a few weeks ago. But
he wasn't terrible though. He just couldn't quite put it all together.
But I think a lot of what you said about Spieth kind of applies to Woodland. Like we've seen where you take Woodland and make him hit less than driver, and all of a sudden
his approach game is so good.
And so I think if you like that thought for Spieth, you have to love that thought for Woodland, who was really trending in the right direction, and I think is really getting his game together. Woodland sucks at putting. There's no two ways about it, but. Yeah. Woodland putts infinitely better on Bermuda. And again, he's another guy, when you look at the opportunity gain metric over the last 36, he's knocking the ball super close, right? So like you put him on his best surface and he's having more looks at scoring opportunities than most of this field. I think this is a really good setup for Woodland. And at 55-1, I think that's a really good number on him too.
It is. And I have him at 16th in my model. Just the 1 weak spot is and around the green. His chipping is not very good, but as good as the approach game is if he can find those greens that he has been finding, he'll score. He's also a really underrated player when it comes to difficult golf courses. He tends to play up to difficult scoring conditions, where that's not something you get from every golfer on the PGA Tour. Some of these guys are just birdie fest type of specialists. One thing about Luke Clanton that I didn't like was his bogey avoidance. Like, everybody knows that Luke Clanton can score with anybody. Like, he can make birdies in bunches and get ridiculously hot. He's towards the bottom of this field and avoiding the big number, which does concern me here at the Cognizant, formerly the Honda. That's what mainly kept him off my betting card. But of course, his scoring ability kept him firmly in my DFS pool, because if he gets hot, then it might not matter if he can't avoid the big blow up hole.
And to your point, like, that's definitely cause for concern. And I'm not saying I'm going to FOMO bet him. Like, there's reason to bet him, like you just said. But I'm just hoping that we get him just right out of the chute, just striking the ball the way he can, and
make some putts, please.
Yeah. So I'm not scared off of him, but yeah, it's a valid point. Bogey avoidance, not great. So
did I see Lucas Glover on your betting slip? Because that bothers me.
So I wrote up Lucas Glover in my article. I know you and I don't agree on Lucas Glover, but I'll just make a short case for Lucas.
I don't disagree. I just don't want to bet him.
So but there's a lot of reasons to bet him here. Like,
oh yeah,
he rates out number 1 in my model overall. So
he's number 7 in mine. That's why I hate it so much.
He's number 1 in bogey avoidance that we just touched on.
Yeah.
He's in the top 20 for like literally every stat I looked at, with the exception of approaches from outside of 200 yards, which we've talked about. There aren't many. And the other thing, he's number 2 overall in approach. And a big selling point that I made about Lucas Glover this week in my article is we all need to accept that Lucas Glover does not suck around the greens and with the putter. He doesn't. He used to. But nowadays he rates out like in the lower third, like in the upper third is a better way to put it. He's around the mid 30s in almost every metric you look at for short game. So if there's cause for concern with Lucas Glover, it's a lot of the off the tee stuff that you and I talked about in the pre-show. And again, we have a narrative going. If we're going to mitigate some of that risk with shorter clubs in these guys' hands, I think this is a great setup for Lucas Glover. He's playing good golf, and it makes a ton of sense. It's 60-1. In a field full of like,
I don't hate it.
Stuff.
I mean, I hate that I never get him right, so I think I might just FOMO bet him because you're on him. But if he fucking trunk slams, I'm going to blame you completely.
I'll tell you what. I'll make you a beer bet that he doesn't trunk slam. How's that? I'll buy you a beer. If he trunk slams.
Oh, that would make me feel a little bit better. So I appreciate that.
All right, I'll buy you a beer.
I'll piggyback on that beer bet and match him up with Chris Kirk, who's even shorter or longer odds, 70-1.
I hate Chris Kirk here, so this works.
I know. Chris Kirk is a ball striker extraordinaire. He's a short course specialist that we've seen do well on these types of golf courses. Pretty much every stat except for the long 175 to 200 bucket. In my model, he's outside the top 100 in that one stat. Everywhere else is in the top 30. So Chris Kirk, recent form hasn't been great. That's why he's 70-1. But I think he's the type of guy who can grind it out. Tougher golf courses. Another guy who doesn't make a lot of bogeys. I like that. I like that here. I like that he's a steady Eddie guy that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I'm going to kind of stick to that type of prototype other than Jordan Spieth, who's the quintessential, like, makes everything look really difficult, but somehow pulls it off. Chris Kirk is more risk averse by far. I just think that that's a really nice pick for me at 70-1 for a guy who is definitely going to make the cut and definitely going to push for the lead especially if the wind picks up a little bit. I'm gonna be loving Chris Kirk, number 4 in my model. By the way, I think that's noteworthy.
You and I are very, 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 very far apart on Chris Kirk model wise this week. I won't spoil the selling points by telling everybody what he is in my model, but
it's a lot higher, a lot lower down the list.
You got to scroll a ways.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying about Chris Kirk, and Chris Kirk, the player, not the stat model. To my eye test, I think should rate out a lot better for me than he did. So that's why I said, we can go bet for bet here, and I'll tell you on Chris Kirk, because I don't think it's a bad bet. I just, the stats are really leading me off of him on my model. So I'll
Yeah.
trust you a little bit blindly and trust my eyes a little bit, and we'll go.
I'm pretty weird with how I filter my models. It just kind of ends up a little different sometimes. And Chris Kirk being a risk averse, like steady Eddie par making guy, it really does affect my model greatly, where you might not even be filtering for any of that stuff. So even with the same stats with a different filter, they have completely different results.
Yeah, I will say, people that watch the show probably know this, but I gamble a lot more in terms of how I weight stuff than you do. I'm a lot more. I shoot for the moon on a lot of stuff, where like I should probably have a little bit more restraint on some of the guys I call out. So I like the Chris Kirk call. It's not a bad call at all.
All right. Long shots. I think we're pretty in lockstep on some of these guys, because a lot of these guys we've talked about before. Obviously, on the thumbnail here, my long shot, Tom Hoge, is basically just because he's an approach mercenary. You get him on a golf course under 7,400 yards where it's a second shot golf course. Guess who flies to the top of the stats? Tom Hoge. He has no short game to speak of. He can't putt. He can't chip. But man, if you put a short iron in his hand, he's going to stick it close. And I think he's a pretty decent guy at avoiding bogeys. I was a little surprised to see him at number 1 in my model, especially with how he's 107th in strokes gained around the green. But he's number 1 in bogey avoidance, number 1 on approach, number 1 on opportunities gained, number 2 in the 2 main proximity buckets. Just if he doesn't miss greens, I think he's fine. But everything, like, he's just like the stat merchant. And at 120 to 1 now, I don't hate it. It's like, do I think Tom Hoge's going to win this thing? Probably not. Like, it's not the type. It's not like it's Pebble Beach where we're like, yeah, Tom Hoge's probably going to be all over this thing. But there are some definitely comparative parallels here between Pebble Beach and PGA National. PGA National is a more difficult golf course. It's a faster golf course, but Tom Hoge is looking at the same approach buckets. You're looking at the same size. Like, we're talking small greens, small landing areas where there's a lot of forced layups. Like, the parallel with Shane Lowry and Pebble Beach and PGA National is there. So why wouldn't the Tom Hoge parallel be there? They're a very similar style player, even though obviously Lowry's in a tier or 2 above Tom Hoge. I just think that in a specialist type course like this, I'm going to take a little flyer on Tom Hoge, but I'm more interested in betting on your guy that's becoming my guy with every passing week, Carl with the K Phillips. That dude's a stud. That dude is an absolute stud. He is the future. He is the present.
Dude, I watched his Sunday Red promo drop that he
first non-Tiger Woods promo athlete for Sunday Red brand. Carl Phillips is a spectacular golfer, and if you don't know who he is now, you're going to find out real soon. 200 to 1. Tell everybody again about Carl Phillips, because like the whole golf betting community, where we like the realm we're in, everybody knows and everybody is excited for Carl Phillips.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about last week, and I know you weren't on, but I mean, this is a former Korn Ferry Rookie of the Year guy. I mean, this guy, he's crazy, crazy good. And you look at what he did last week in Mexico. Yeah, he had a couple of bad rounds, but his second round Friday, he shot 6 under, came out and just scorched the place. I mean, it got overshadowed by some other guys that were putting up some monster numbers and had a little more televised action going on. But as bad as he played in at least 2 out of the 4 rounds that we saw, he still gained on approach. Like, it's crazy how good he is on approach when he gets it going. And so I think for a lot of the reasons we talked about last week, and to your point, like, Carl Phillips at 200 to 1 is
That's stupid.
The books are sleeping. They just don't know who he is yet. Like, that is a crazy number when you look at guys like that I would view on the same level, like your Luke Clantons of the world that are literally a quarter of the odds, and Michael Thorbjornsen, who has done absolutely dick ever on tour so far. You know, and he's
who's not a
half
good
the
course fit
odds.
this week anyway.
So, like, you just look at some of the odds on these young guns, and for whatever reason, Phillips isn't on the books radar yet. So go get the 200 to 1 and
Do it
you're
now because it's
ITs
going to get
up.
shorter as we approach Thursday morning. It's going to get way shorter.
It's stupid. If you don't know who he is, go check him out. I mean, just hop on Instagram, hop on
Bilips.
hop on the Stanford website. Like, you go educate yourself. This guy is crazy good. Doesn't matter here, but he averages 327 yards off the tee. He absolutely smokes the golf ball. 72% of the time he's in the fairway with that crazy distance. And then you got, on top of that, like I said, you got a guy who usually crests above 70% in accuracy on approach. Like, it's like crazy. This guy's going to be crazy good.
You know what?
I'm so fired up about this guy. I can't wait to bet him every week.
Where did he go to college?
Stanford.
Where's Stanford?
I believe that's in California.
Yeah. NorCal.
NorCal.
Thorbjornsen, of course, the Stanford guy. But how about my guy? Like, I'm not betting him this week because it's not a great course fit. But how about our guy from Stanford and born and raised in San Francisco last week? Did you see a runner-up performance from my guy? Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Isaiah Salinda. Shout out NorCal. Isaiah. One shot out of the San Francisco kid, went to Stanford with Phillips, with Thorbjornsen. That team was freaking loaded. Jesus. That team was crazy, but Salinda, actually from the area, love to watch him very nearly win the Mexico Open last week with a 65 final round. That's cooking. That's cooking. To be a Stanford kid down in Mexico, putting up a final round 65 to very nearly join that playoff with Potgieter and Campbell. I'm not betting him this week, but I just wanted to shout out the NorCal kid, Isaiah Salinda, because he's going to be going places. You get him on a Bombers course where you're going to be looking to make a lot of birdies. He's going to be around. This isn't that. He's in the field this week. You'd be pretty crazy to bet a guy that raw a golf course like this. But I am betting on the raw, but also game on difficult golf courses, William Mouw. Mouw. He's not quite Carl Phillips, but he's damn close. And he's another PGA Tour rookie that's going to be making noise this year. I predicted in the preseason that he would win a tournament this year. Don't know which one it could be. It might be one of the Puerto Rico or whatever. But William Mouw is in that generation of talent that's getting started on the PGA Tour this year. That's going to be mentioned quite a bit, and he's going out at 350 to 1 now. I got him at 400 to 1 when the odds opened up. William Mouw, 350 to 1. His top 20 line is plus 900.
Yeah, that's a really savvy bet too. I love that.
You love it? You love it?
I do. Yeah, for everything.
I've done dumber shit with the $5.
Absolutely. Like that's 100%. Like
that's a bet on talent. Like that's not just like sleepy Carl Phillips. Nobody knows him. 200 to 1. That's like literally nobody knows who William Mouw is. And
what was it? I'm trying. What was the week that he actually was in contention and then he blew up and took like a 10 or 12 on a hole?
Yeah.
It was like a month ago, maybe.
He went viral for making a 13 on that par 5, where he went from bunker over to the other of the green to the other bunker, over the green again to the other bunker, and it was on that one hole that's famous for just being really tough to be out of position, and he was out of position, couldn't get on the green. So yeah, he made the news for the wrong reasons.
But bounced back the next day and I think shot 4 under or something. I mean,
he shot 66 the next day. Yeah.
So a real talent. I do have to back up because there is one guy that we skipped right over that I want to call out. I'll do it quick. But Nico Echeverria, who's a guy that I come around on every few months, which is about the right timing on him.
Colombia.
In case you are not in the know with Nico, Nico, I believe, has 4 top 5s in the last 4 months. He won back in October, and then he's got a 6th and 2 runner-ups in that span of time. Playing really, really good golf. Rated out number 2 in my model. He's 100-1, and he's priced really nicely over in DFS as well.
You don't want to know what he rated out in my model, though.
But we'll skip that. We'll give him some courtesy. He does rate out number 3 in opportunities gained. He is an amazing putter, number 2 in this field overall for putting, better on Bermuda as well. Hits fairways at a pretty good clip. He's right in the top 35 for that. Very accurate on approach for the most part, in the top 25 for that. And then we like him on the longer par 3s that are here. He rates out 4th in the model for that. And the proximity range from 150 to 175, which is a portion of these, a fair amount of these approach shots actually for him, because he is a shorter hitter off the tee. He rates out number 2 in overall approach from that bucket. So there's a whole lot to like about Nico. And Nico is a very cyclical golfer. Like if you look at what he does, he catches little spurts of heat, and I think we're on the cusp of having that. I think this is a really good course fit for Nico. So
I can't disagree more, but that's just based on my stats. I like Nico. I don't like Nico as much as you like Nico, but yes, he is riding pretty hot game right now. And I think he has the skill set to hang around here. So, I mean, you can't hate it because it's 100-1. It's like these are the long shots we take. We take these riskier bets on talent, what we think they can do.
Yeah, these guys over 100-1. To be clear, I mean, these are bets that, like, I'm not throwing a ton of money at these. I'm buckshot $5-10 on each of these guys. I mean, if I make a cool grand off Nico at 100-1,
like, we're partying.
Yeah, like
it's like Kurt Kitayama back a few years ago at the Arnold Palmer, 250-1,
or Wyndham when we hit Wyndham. Wyndham was at a stupid number too when we hit him
with the U.S. Open. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, we when we make these long shot bets, we're betting on the talent and the fit, and that's just what it's about. What did you like about Henrik Norlander? I noticed he's on here too for you.
Oh yeah, 171 on Henrik Norlander. Let me pull up my line, and we'll do him, and then we'll do the hat and get out of here.
Yeah.
Because actually, there were a couple of things that spiked about him that I was a little surprised on. It's not a guy that's normally on my radar at all. Where is he? Come on, Norlander.
Henrik. I had another 170 guy that showed up at 26 in my model, Matteo Manacero.
Yeah, so Henrik popped 11th in mine, and a big part of that is some of that proximity, that he's really, really good from about 175. And he also scores really well on those longer par 3s we talked about. Bogey avoidance is surprisingly good with Henrik Norlander. He's 31st in this field. And his overall approach game, just as a general statement from each side of the bag, he rates out 9th over the last 36 rounds. So really, really good iron player. And actually, the form has been kind of hit or miss. But going back to November at the RSM, he's 17th there, 37th at Sony. Then he's got a string of missed cuts. But then he just finished 13th in Mexico, where, believe it or not, he gained 10.2 strokes on approach in Mexico.
Whew.
So, and where did he lose strokes? Off the tee, which just goes to show you how not great he is with a driver. He's a short guy and not an accurate guy to boot with a driver. So I like some again, another guy, if we can get some of these longer irons in his hand, which he's really good with, and do a little more positional play. I think Henrik Norlander is live to pop up. Now, I sprinkle $5 on an outright, but I would go catch like maybe a good number on a top 20 or something like that on him. He's a lot more likely to go there than he would be to win. But he's got a skill set that works here. So it could be a good week for him.
Yeah. Well, who's going to win this thing, and what's his final score going to be?
Oh man, I think Lucas Glover gets it done, and I think it's around 14 or 15 under.
Jordan Spieth -11.
I don't hate it either. God, you're talking me. Really, I'm gonna get over invested in damn Jordan Speed. I know it. I know it.
Just get a little dab, just a little dabble.
Yeah, that's like heroin. Just do it. Just do a little bump.
I just want to see him succeed. He's just fun to watch.
Yeah, I want to see him succeed too. But God damn it, he hurts my wallet.
Yes, he does.
All right,
last 2 years have been rough. Hat.
Oh.
Come on, low number.
All right, the hat with the selection here. Pulling up my model. Number 73.
Oh, kind of in the middle. 73. Who do we have here? Would have been great last week.
Nicholas Norgard is who I've got at number 70.
Ugh, fuck no. All right, mine's Justin Lowry, which I don't hate that much.
Love that. Okay, that one, good hat pick.
Yeah, the hat's been hot for me. It's been
bad headline. Nicholas Norgard. Good headline. Justin Lowry.
Lowry 16th on approach, 15th in the 125 to 150 bucket, 25th on par fours of the common distance here, 44th on the longer bucket. Let's not talk about his bogey avoidance or his general approach game, but the Justin Lowry main appeal is strokes gained on approach, 16th in this field. So if he can keep it in play and make some bucks.
Norgard last week. He's an off the tee guy. This is not going to work out well. So don't bet that one. Don't tail the hat on that.
Yeah, it's okay to bet Justin Lowry, even though I don't think he has a lot of upside this week. All right. Well, next week, what do we have?
Where the hell are we next week?
The Valspar? No, it can't be the Valspar yet.
No, it is. Should know this. Puerto Rico.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then we got API after that.
And then the Players.
So we're getting into some good golf here, folks.
Yes, we are.
We're almost there.
Join us next week for the Puerto Riqueño.
Yeah, so you can hear Bo's accent the whole show.
Yeah, you should tune in.
Missed out on Mexico, so we gotta get you some redemption.
I know. I would have been rolling my R's all week last week.
I think we should play Rico Suave for the intro.
Nico Echevarria. All right. Thanks, guys. Peace.